This afternoon, we were supposed to bring you our next live trial at Court TV that we had been previewing for a number of days, the Ohio family massacre case. But suddenly, another delay. The defendant is George Wagner. He's accused of murdering 8 members of another family. It all happened over a child custody battle, according to investigators. The state claiming that Wagner and several of his family members killed 8 members of another family. At the heart of it, a 2-year-old child that Wagner's brother shared with one of the Roden daughters. A really, really upsetting set of facts in this case. I want to bring in Court TV legal correspondent Joy Massacre, and she is there in Pike County, Ohio, where this case was supposed to go. Joy, good to see you as always. Good afternoon there. Let's start, please, if we can. What happened with this delay?
Yeah, and yet another delay I heard you emphasize. Remember, last week we initially came to Ohio because initially opening statements were supposed to happen last week, and then the trial was continued to today because of the Labor Day weekend. And now another continuance. So you see in this order, the court order for the case to be continued, that this is all because a party important to the case has fallen ill. You can see that order really doesn't give details about who was affected or what happened, but Court TV has been able to learn through sources that it's one of the attorneys involved in the case who's fallen ill. And we've also learned, Julie, that it's not COVID-19.
Ah, okay. You know, and which, I mean, it is, hey, it's back to school season. It's going to be flu season pretty soon, you know, who knows. But okay, so party to the case out sick, and they've set the new date right for next Monday. Is that right, Joy?
Yeah, it's next Monday, September 12th. And, you know, I mean, this community has been waiting some 6 years for this trial. So, you know, and there was a 2-year delay from the time of the crime to, I shouldn't say delay, but a time gap from the time of the crime to the arrest. Crime happened back in 2016 in April. And now so many years later, still waiting on this trial to begin.
I know you're there talking to different members of the community. You were last week and today as well. What are you hearing from them about this case, or even about the sudden delay today?
Yeah, I mean, so people have certainly been following this case very closely. And, you know, when we've spoken to a few individuals about the delay, they say, again? You know, and really there's kind of a lack of closure, not just for the family, but for this community. Oftentimes when we travel across the nation, gathering reaction as we cover these various trials, I mean, people are very saddened by tragedies like this. But in this case, it really struck me how much fear there was from people who seemingly have no relationship to this case, just residents here in Pike County. There's one woman who we talked to specifically, you know, despite many people declining to go on camera for the reasons I stated, there was one woman who said she'd speak if we didn't identify her and if she didn't show her face. Let's listen.
It's a small community. Things like that don't happen here. I think it had a lot to do with child custody, but not knowing who all's involved, people are afraid of being hurt, fear for their lives.
You're willing to talk only if we don't disclose your identity or show your face. Why?
I'm afraid. I'd be absolutely afraid to speak candidly in front of a camera and show my face.
Why?
In fear that somebody could do something to me in retaliation.
So, Julie, I mean, it's really remarkable, that level of fear that we're hearing from just ordinary people who aren't connected to the Wagners. This fear about how powerful the Wagners might be, what connections they might have in this small, tight-knit rural community.
Right, Joy. If we can, please, I'd like to ask you about what the jury saw, because I think it's important to remember in this case, they got started already on some of their work on this case, as you know very well, Joy, because you went along too. And for any viewers who may not have seen our coverage last week, they were doing what are called, you know, jury views, going to multiple crime scene locations last week. Would you walk us through, please, what they were looking at, how that went, what they were taking in ahead of what was supposed to be opening statements day today?
Yeah, Julia, really, they zigzagged across Pike County. They were advised to wear comfortable outdoor clothing, closed-toed shoes, because they were going to trek through some rural areas and in some cases some rugged terrain of some of these crime scenes that have been kind of left really untouched in a way and have, experienced a lot of overgrowth and so forth. Let's take a look at that 2-day jury view.
The panel of 9 women and 3 men, along with 6 alternates, embarked on a 2-day-long jury view, zigzagging across remote areas of Pike County to view locations and evidence central to the state's case.
This is the first of 4 crime scenes that the jury toured on their jury view. It's about a 40-minute drive from the courthouse. And here on this property is where 2 of the victims' bodies were found. The mobile homes have since been hauled off to an impound lot. Now, over there on that outbuilding, you can see a now faded poster asking for any information about who may have killed the rodents. So for perspective, the first crime scene is just down the street, but a short walk up is the second crime scene. That's where 2 more of the victims' bodies were found.
The third crime scene is just further down the same street, Union Hill Road in Piketon. The fourth crime scene just 6 miles away in Reardon. Jurors visited all 4 crime scenes, looking closely at rundown buildings now partially covered in overgrowth and the vacant ground where the road and mobile homes once sat. On their second viewing day, they went to more spots central to the investigation.
We're just outside Flying W Farm in Lucasville, Ohio. This is the first stop on day 2 of the jury view, and this is a horse and pet pig breeding farm. And this is significant because this is where investigators say key evidence was found.
Flying W is owned by Frederica Wagner, the matriarch of the Wagner family and the defendant's grandmother. She was charged with obstruction of justice following the massacre, but the charges were later dropped.
This Pike County Sheriff impound lot is a key stop on the jury view. Remember, the rodents were found dead inside their mobile homes and camper. And this lot is where those vehicles were hauled and are still being held today.
The jury even viewed roads allegedly used by the defendant to commit the crimes, even passing by the family's home. And the court made an important ruling about what the state says sparked the massacre. The statements Hannah Mae Roden made in Facebook Messenger just 4 months before she died will be admitted, despite the defense motion 96 to exclude them. Yeah, they want me to sign Sophia over. Not happening. I'm not. Sophia is my entire world. I won't sign papers, ever. It won't happen. They will have to kill me first. And so the prosecution says the Wagners ultimately did kill her and her family.
And Julie, that certainly was a major win, that ruling for the state, because now they can share with the jury those statements by Hannah Mae Roden made 4 months before her death. And they're expected to heavily rely on the child custody dispute narrative in showing motive, which, as you know, is not required. But interesting to note that this massacre is believed to be just one of 6 in the last 16 years motivated by a child custody dispute, Julie.
Oh my gosh, it is so sad. Just heinous facts, as you know, Joy. Thank you so much for all of that. Next Monday, we believe, will be the day this case will finally go, and our cameras will be there when it happens.